Elmwood Greens was a suburban paradise on the surface. Impeccably manicured lawns, pastel-hued houses aligned in neat rows, a decorative entrance sign brimming with fresh flowers. Families strolled down the sidewalks, greeting each other politely. The Elmwood Greens Homeowners Association, HOA, boasted a reputation for impeccable standards. No fence too high, no yard unkempt, no house color unapproved. Yet behind the manicured hedges, tension occasionally flared. The HOA's rules, while maintaining a pristine facade, left little room for unplanned additions. Residents discovered that the slightest deviation, like a front yard birdbath not on the approved list, risked citations. Most complied or navigated the system politely, but one figure in particular took enforcement to extremes. Brenda Arnett, though around the neighborhood, she was known privately as Karen. In her late 50s, Karen possessed an air of rigid propriety, patrolling the streets with her phone's camera at the ready. She circulated photos of minor violations, pressing the board for immediate action. Some viewed her as a helpful watchdog. Many found her style overbearing. Karen's sense of authority wasn't an official role. She held only a mid-level HOA seat, but she acted as though she alone guarded Elmwood Green's aesthetic purity. In the hush of a recent tragedy, some parents had installed a small memorial bench near a grassy corner of the community park to honor a toddler who'd passed away unexpectedly. It was a modest wooden seat, bearing the child's name and a short inscription, "Forever our sunshine, in loving memory." The bench felt discreet, bringing comfort to the grieving parents and silently reminding neighbors of life's fragility. None suspected Karen would fixate on it as an unapproved fixture, setting off a chain of events that would reshape Elmwood Green's community spirit. The bench had been placed by Allison and Marcus Reed, whose 2-year-old son, Toby, died from a sudden illness a few months prior. Finding no city or HOA guidelines for memorial items in the public park, they quietly installed the bench under a willow tree near the playground. They added a small plaque, in memory of Toby Reed, who brought sunshine to all. Neighbors sympathized, embracing the bench as a gentle tribute. Some placed small flowers or stuffed animals on it, letting the Reeds know they cared. Families using the adjacent playground occasionally sat there, mindful of Toby's memory. If the bench violated a formal bylaw, none complained. The park caretakers saw no harm. But Karen, hearing of some new bench, felt unsettled. She disliked the notion that a personal memorial appeared without official approval. In her eyes, every item on communal land required advance permission. Soon, she found the bench, read the plaque, and judged it a private monument, unsuited for a shared space. She raised the matter at the next HOA meeting, though initially with mild condemnation. "We mustn't allow unapproved tributes to pop up," she insisted. The board was torn. Some recognized the bench's heartfelt significance, not wanting to upset a grieving family. Others worried about setting a precedent for unsanctioned memorials. Ultimately, Ms. Delgado, the HOA president, suggested leaving it be for now, out of compassion. Karen scowled at this leniency. She believed rules were rules, no matter the emotional circumstances. If the board wouldn't remove the bench, she might quietly take matters into her own hands. Unaware of Karen's brewing hostility, the Reeds continued visiting Toby's bench, placing a fresh daisy on the seat every Saturday morning. That daisy-lined bench soon became a small but significant part of the park's ambience, reminding neighbors of Toby's bright spirit. The unthinkable truth was that Karen viewed it as an eyesore, one she was determined to eliminate. One Saturday, Allison Reed arrived at the bench with a small bouquet, intending to sit quietly and reflect on Toby's memory. To her surprise, Karen stood nearby, scanning the bench with a furrowed brow. "Mrs. Reed," Karen said curtly, "I understand your grief, but I'm concerned about your unauthorized bench taking up space meant for the community." Allison's heart clenched. She'd never spoken directly with Karen before, but recognized her reputation. Allison politely explained the bench's meaning, how it offered comfort not just to her, but to neighbors who'd known Toby. Karen waved that off. "We have official processes for installing permanent fixtures. Did you submit an application?" Allison admitted she hadn't, given the circumstances. Karen frowned. "It's best you move it now or face potential removal. I'm only warning you." Shaken, Allison asked if Karen had no empathy for a family's loss. Karen stiffly repeated that personal sorrow doesn't override HOA policy. Furious tears welled up, but Allison held them back, hurrying home to tell Marcus. When they posted about Karen's confrontation on the neighborhood forum, supportive messages poured in. People praised the bench as a lovely tribute. Some told the Reeds that Karen might grumble, but the board likely wouldn't forcibly remove it. Others suggested the Reeds apply for a variance, but that process was lengthy. Meanwhile, Ms. Delgado privately told Allison that no one on the board except Karen wanted the bench gone. The Reeds felt half reassured, half fearful. Karen's persistent aggression had undone others' attempts at gentle solutions before. If the board did nothing, might Karen sabotage the bench? The Reeds prayed no one could be so callous. Little did they know that Karen's drive to maintain uniform standards overshadowed any sense of compassion. She believed the bench had to go, whatever the means. Under the cover of darkness 1 week later, Karen slipped into the park with gloves, a small pry bar, and a handcart. She had concluded that the board's inaction demanded her direct approach. The bench was not locked down, just affixed with small anchors into the dirt for stability. Karen reasoned that if she simply relocated it away from the park, the Reeds would have no choice but to keep it on their private property. She convinced herself she was preserving the integrity of the communal space. Working quickly, she pried the bench from its shallow anchors, ignoring a slight sense of guilt. Toby's plaque glinted under her flashlight. Undeterred, she loaded the bench onto the handcart, hauling it out of the park to her SUV parked discreetly on a nearby street. She placed it in the trunk, planning to dump it at her home's side yard temporarily. She'd then claim the bench wasn't permitted anyway. If the Reeds wanted it back, they could retrieve it from her, humiliating themselves in the process. She believed this would force them to keep it off public land. At sunrise, dog walkers noticed the bench missing from beneath the willow. Confusion rippled. The Reeds, upon arriving with fresh daisies, were devastated. They found only disturbed ground where the bench had stood. Ms. Delgado was informed. She called the board members, suspecting a theft. Some neighbors rummaged for clues, but found no footprints or direct evidence. Then an anonymous tip arrived via text to Ms. Delgado. Someone glimpsed Karen's SUV near the park after midnight. Suspicion mounted that she'd forcibly removed it. The Reeds, hearing this, were livid yet heartbroken. Toby's memorial bench gone. They demanded the board intervene, or they'd file a police report for theft. Ms. Delgado confronted Karen, who smirked, claiming she had no knowledge of the bench's whereabouts. Furious, Ms. Delgado realized they had no direct proof. The Reeds recognized the only way forward was rallying the community to respond. If one small bench could be stolen so easily, maybe they needed a bigger tribute that no single meddler could remove. A seed of a new idea took hold, one that would soon blossom into an entire memorial playground. Word of the bench's disappearance and rumored involvement by Karen triggered widespread anger. Families who'd found solace in Toby's bench felt personally attacked. On the neighborhood forum, posts titled, "Bring Toby's Bench Back," circulated. People slammed Karen, though no one had photographic proof of her theft. Ms. Delgado posted a brief statement condemning the removal of any memorial without board approval. She apologized to the Reeds and promised to help investigate. A hush of sadness enveloped the Reeds. Toby's presence in the park was erased overnight. Some neighbors dropped by their home with flowers, offering condolences again. Others demanded Ms. Delgado push the board to forcibly retrieve the bench from Karen, if indeed it was with her. But Ms. Delgado explained the board had no direct authority over a private property search. They needed evidence or a formal complaint. The Reeds considered filing a police report, but lacking a direct witness or video, success seemed uncertain. During a small community vigil near the vacant bench spot, neighbors lit candles, chanting softly for Toby's memory. Ms. K, a local teacher, suggested a bigger idea. What if we create a full memorial site, something that honors not just Toby, but any child lost too soon? A playground with benches could serve as a living tribute. The Reeds perked up. Others found the concept moving. If a single bench was forcibly removed, building something bigger and more official might ensure Toby's memory endured. Encouraged, a group of parents formed a committee, calling themselves Play for the Angels. Their aim, to build a permanent memorial playground featuring Toby's name and possibly other children lost in the area. They believed that if the HOA board officially sanctioned it, not even Karen could tear it down. Ms. Delgado was initially cautious. Playgrounds required serious planning, but recognized the wave of support. She promised to place the memorial playground on the next board agenda. Meanwhile, the Reeds tried to move forward, comforted by the notion that Toby's memory might not just be restored, but expanded into a safe haven for children to laugh and play. The Play for the Angels committee wasted no time. They researched suitable playground equipment, design ideas, and cost estimates. They envisioned a modest but heartwarming space, a slide, swings, maybe a small climbing structure, ringed by a few benches with plaques commemorating lost children. Toby's name would appear prominently, but the concept would be broad enough for any future families who faced loss. They believed no single person, no matter how callous, would dare sabotage a fully board-approved playground. Ms. Delgado, supportive, guided them on how to present a formal proposal. She recommended highlighting how the playground would fill a gap in Elmwood Greens, as the existing park's equipment was outdated and minimal. A new child-friendly zone would boost property values by attracting families. The memorial aspect would be discreet but central, tasteful plaques, not overshadowing the fun environment. Karen, hearing rumors of a memorial playground, fumed. She insisted the board not encourage more personal tributes in communal spaces, recycling her earlier stance that personal grief shouldn't shape public land use. She also pointed to potential liability issues if untrained volunteers installed playground equipment. But Ms. Delgado and the committee planned to follow city guidelines, hiring licensed installers if needed. They recognized that thorough official compliance was the best shield against Karen's meddling. At the next board meeting, the Reeds and the Play for the Angels team arrived with a short slideshow. They displayed design sketches, pastel-colored slides, a small swing set, a ring of benches around a central flower bed. Each bench would carry a small plaque for Toby or other children lost too soon. The cost was not negligible, perhaps $20,000 to $30,000 for quality equipment. But the group had fundraising ideas. Local businesses might sponsor, neighbors might donate, and a small portion could come from the HOA's beautification fund. The crowd present cheered the concept. Ms. Delgado nodded, moved by the thoughtful plan. Karen seethed in her seat. This overshadowed her entire attempt to remove Toby's bench. If the board approved a big playground, her sabotage ironically paved the path for a more permanent and official memorial. After the presentation, Ms. Delgado invited board members to comment. Two expressed enthusiasm, praising the memorial playground as a unifying project. Another asked about liability coverage. Ms. Delgado explained the HOA's existing insurance policy covered playgrounds, as long as it met safety standards. Then Karen took the mic, scowling. She repeated old arguments. We can't let personal grief overshadow communal needs. The toddler bench was never approved. Now they want a large tribute? This sets a precedent for any private tragedy overshadowing our public spaces. A hush fell. Parents in the audience bristled, offended by Karen's tone. She pressed on, claiming potential depressing atmosphere, scaring children. Miss K, a neighbor, retorted that the playground's focus was on life and joy, not sadness. Another parent pointed out how Toby's short life had touched many kids in the block. Miss K insisted that calling it depressing was insulting to the families who found healing in remembering lost loved ones. Karen then attacked the proposed cost, insisting Elmwood Greens had better uses for $20,000. The Play for the Angels group clarified that much of the cost could come from donations. The HOA might only supply a fraction. Ms. Delgado recognized that financially, the plan was feasible if the community truly rallied. Meanwhile, Karen's scaremongering about future private tributes found little sympathy. Ms. Delgado thanked Karen for her concerns, but indicated strong community backing for the playground. The board decided to table the final vote for a special session in 2 weeks, giving the Play for the Angels committee time to gather more detailed funding pledges. Meanwhile, tension soared. Everyone recognized that if the board greenlit the plan, Karen's attempts to keep Toby's memory out of the park would fail spectacularly. She realized she might lose again. And when Karen realized that, she often resorted to bolder sabotage attempts. Determined to secure the playground, The Play for the Angels committee hustled over the next 2 weeks. They set up an online crowdfunding page, describing how Toby's bench was stolen under suspicious circumstances and how they now aimed for a permanent memorial. Donations trickled in, $10, $20, some $50 pledges. A local philanthropic group that had once donated to the hospice fiasco pitched in $1,000. The crafters offered to hold a bake sale, with proceeds going to the playground fund. A father who owned a small construction firm volunteered free labor for site prep if the plan passed. Another neighbor, an artist, offered to create a mural featuring children's handprints around the playground entrance. Ms. Delgado privately told Ms. K that the groundswell for the project overshadowed any negativity from Karen. Meanwhile, Karen circulated dire warnings about overshadowing the existing park or attracting outsider families. The board mostly ignored her, focusing on the well-organized fundraising. The Reeds found solace in how Toby's memory sparked unity. Instead of a single wooden bench, an entire child-friendly zone might arise, ensuring Toby's name joined other children's names in a place of laughter and joy, not overshadowed by sorrow. They took pride in helping coordinate, meeting with the playground equipment vendor, ensuring everything met safety standards. Ms. Delgado assured them that if the final budget plan was stable, she'd push for an immediate board vote to approve site usage. Karen, seeing the unstoppable momentum, rummaged for a new angle, perhaps claiming the site was environmentally sensitive or that local codes forbade large structures. But the Play for the Angels group had already verified with city parks officials that a modest playground was fully allowable. Each route for sabotage closed. Karen's only chance might be in the final board meeting, hoping to scare enough board members into rejecting the plan. The showdown approached with the sense that a community's moral fiber hung in the balance. The special board meeting day arrived. The community hall swelled with neighbors. Ms. Delgado opened the session, announcing the single agenda item, Memorial Playground Proposal. Ms. Gardner from Play for the Angels presented final budget numbers. $10,000 pledged from local donors, $5,000 from the online fundraiser, $2,000 from local philanthropic groups, plus volunteer labor. The HOA's portion might be just $8,000 from the beautification fund to reach the total needed for a modest but quality playground. Applause rippled. Ms. Gardner outlined the design, a central playset with slides and climbing bars, a few swings, a padded ground surface, and a ring of benches each bearing a small plaque. Toby's name would feature on one, while others could be inscribed with other lost children's names if families wished. The entire space would remain bright and inviting, a testament to resilience and cherishing young life. Karen, when asked for input, repeated her objections. We can't keep turning our communal land into personal memorial shrines. This structure is large, overshadowing standard uses, and the cost is substantial. Another board member responded that the cost was partially offset by donors. The playground was beneficial to all families, and the memorial aspect was tasteful, just small plaques, not overshadowing the fun. Ms. Delgado concluded that the playground not only replaced the benches concept, but improved the park for all. Public comments poured in, mostly supportive. Parents praised the plan. Some who'd lost children or had chronically ill kids expressed deep gratitude for a place of reflection and joy. The heartfelt testimonies drowned Karen's negativity. Ms. Delgado then called the board vote. 4 of the 5 members quickly voted yes. Karen, the lone no, glared in exasperation. But the majority carried it. The playground was officially approved. Cheers erupted. The Reeds teared up, hugging each other. Their stolen bench, once a simple seed of grief, had blossomed into a sanctioned memorial project that would stand for generations. Ms. Delgado hammered the gavel, congratulating Play for the Angels. Karen departed abruptly, overshadowed. The fiasco of removing Toby's bench ended in a far bigger tribute, ironically ensuring Toby's memory endured more potently than ever. With official approval in hand, the Play for the Angels committee jumped into action. They selected a site near the old playground, designating a slightly larger plot that was underused, just an open lawn. Ms. Gardner coordinated the scheduling. The local construction firm did site prep, leveling the ground and installing drainage. Volunteers hammered stakes to outline the shape. The crafters organized a bake sale, raising another $1,500. The entire neighborhood bustled with excitement, as if building a communal dream. On a bright Saturday morning, families gathered for a ceremonial groundbreaking. Ms. Delgado, Ms. Gardner, and the Reeds took up small spades, turning the soil to symbolically commence the build. Dozens of onlookers clapped, some holding pictures of Toby or other children lost too soon. The Reeds spoke briefly, voice trembling. "We never imagined losing Toby. But your love and support transform our pain into something that will bring joy to many." Eyes glistened. Even the crafters were teary, recalling times they overcame sabotage themselves. Karen lingered at a distance, arms crossed. She watched the groundbreaking with a cold expression. The wave of communal unity overshadowed her disapproval. She recognized the unstoppable momentum. Foundation posts would soon rise for the playground, benches installed, plaques dedicated. The Reeds might even mention Karen's theft as the impetus for bigger action. She retreated, powerless to halt the progress. By midday, the construction crew started measuring out the footings for the main play structure. Children scurried around excitedly, anticipating new slides and swings. The Reeds marveled at how from a single stolen bench, an entire memorial playground was blossoming. They felt Toby's spirit shining in the laughter and synergy around them. Freed from fear of sabotage, since this project was fully authorized, they pressed on, forging a tribute bigger than Karen could remove. Over the next month, the playground took shape. The construction crew and volunteers installed robust climbing frames, swings with safe rubber seats, and a gentle double slide for younger kids. A thick rubberized floor, funded by additional donations, ensured soft landings, complying with modern safety standards. A small corner featured toddler-friendly items like a mini slide. The entire design was bright yet tasteful, matching Elmwood Green's color guidelines. For the memorial aspect, Ms. Gardner oversaw a row of benches circling a central flower garden. Each bench had a discrete plaque. Toby's name topped one, referencing the date of his birth and passing, along with the phrase, "Our Forever Light." Another plaque honored a local child who succumbed to leukemia years ago. The idea grew. Any family who lost a child could request a small plaque. The playground thus carried a quiet current of love woven into its joyous design. Neighbors admired the progression. Day by day, more equipment arrived. Painted rails, climbing nets, a neat fence around the perimeter. The crafters crocheted colorful seat covers for the benches. Ms. Delgado arranged new landscaping around the lot. Shrubs, small trees for shade. Meanwhile, Karen hovered, complaining about excess noise from construction. But the board dismissed it. The final result would be an official amenity, overshadowing minor disruptions. Ethan, Rosie, and other kids who had known Toby joined the final touches, painting small handprint murals along the fence. Each handprint symbolized a child's presence, living or departed. The Reeds found tears forming, touched that Toby's memory had kindled such a wave of creativity. Freed from the threat of sabotage, the entire playground soared into being. Even older neighbors with no direct stake found themselves volunteering, remembering how petty sabotage once threatened the crafters. Now, again, negativity spurred unstoppable communal positivity. Despite the near completion of the playground, Karen continued to murmur complaints about property values and gloomy memorial references. She disliked the subtle presence of child loss plaques, claiming they made the area sad. Her rants found little sympathy. Ms. Delgado politely reminded her the playground was a done deal, the board's official project. One evening, Karen confronted the Reeds in the parking lot, hissing that they'd hijacked the entire community for their personal grief. Marcus Reed responded calmly, stating that the playground was for all children, not just Toby. The memorial aspect was discreet. Karen spat back that Toby's bench was never authorized, and this was overkill. Marcus, furious, told her that if she hadn't stolen the bench, maybe the community wouldn't have built something so large. Karen stomped off, overshadowed by the truth of her sabotage. The conversation leaked onto the neighborhood forum, fueling more condemnation of Karen's cruelty. Some older residents, once tolerant of her strictness, declared her moral standing lost. The Reeds, though shaken by her hostility, found renewed comfort in the unstoppable progress around the playground. With official sanction, Karen had no legal route to remove or deface anything. At night, Security cameras set up around the new playground site to deter vandalism. If Karen tried anything, immediate footage would confirm it. Freed from the original bench fiasco's vulnerabilities, the Play for the Angels committee pressed on, finishing the final details for the grand unveiling. The Reeds realized Toby's memory was now woven into the entire structure, out of Karen's reach. As summer approached, the playground neared completion. Volunteers tidied up the landscaping, spreading fresh mulch under the swings. The row of memorial benches gleamed under a coat of protective sealant. Plaques were polished, each shining discreetly. A small sign at the entrance read, "Play for the Angels Memorial Playground. May laughter and love forever echo." In a final gesture, the Reeds placed a small statue of an angel near Toby's plaque, just 6 inches tall, symbolizing a guardian spirit. The crafters crocheted a rainbow pattern wrap for the statue's base. Ms. Gardner arranged a flower bed around it. The entire scene felt serene yet joyous, balancing the idea of children at play with a quiet tribute to those lost. Neighbors who passed by admired how seamlessly the memorial integrated with the playground's vibrancy. Ms. Delgado took a quiet stroll at dusk, marveling at how a stolen bench had unleashed such creativity. She recalled Karen's meltdown, her efforts to remove Toby's memory, and found it ironically poetic that the final result was a much larger structure. Freed from clandestine sabotage, the playground stood unstoppable, a legal, board-approved fixture. Ms. Delgado suspected Karen seethed, but the community had spoken. Final safety checks were run on the slides and swing sets. The treasurer confirmed the budget stayed within range, thanks to donors. The official unveiling was set for next weekend, expected to draw a crowd. Ms. K from a prior fiasco offered to help with a small dedication ceremony, bridging these parallel sabotage stories that ended in expansions. The Reeds quietly thanked each volunteer, expressing gratitude that Toby's memory soared beyond a bench, a living testament that overshadowed cruelty with love. On a bright Saturday morning, families, officials, and curious neighbors flooded into Elmwood Green's new memorial playground for the grand opening ceremony. Balloons and ribbons adorned the fence line. A simple banner read, "Welcome to the Play for the Angels Playground." The crafters set up a table of homemade muffins. A local musician strummed gentle tunes on an acoustic guitar. Children bounced in anticipation, waiting for the gates to open. Ms. Duval led the short program. She recognized the volunteers, donors, and specifically the Reeds, praising how Toby's memory spurred something that would bring joy to thousands of children. The Reeds, holding hands, stood near Toby's plaque, tears in their eyes, smiles on their faces. "We wanted just a simple bench," Allison said softly, "but the community gave us so much more." A hush fell as Ms. Duval invited the Reeds to cut a wide ribbon across the playground gate. Applause thundered. Children raced to the slides, swings, and climbing net, squealing with delight. The new, bright equipment glistened under sunshine. The row of memorial benches stretched around a circular garden, each bearing a plaque. Toby's plaque sat nearest the gate, a symbol that started it all. Karen loitered on the sidelines. She wore a forced smile, ignoring pointed stares from those who suspected her sabotage. The crowd's cheer overshadowed her presence. She recognized that no scowl or protest could overshadow the unstoppable wave of neighborly empathy. The Reeds bench had transformed into an entire child-friendly zone, with the community championing it wholeheartedly. Karen's sabotage attempt was undone so thoroughly that she was left a silent spectator at this jubilant opening. The day ended with laughter echoing across the playground. Families lingered, reading the plaques, hugging the Reeds, and praising Ms. Gardner's committee. This soared beyond a single memorial. It was a living testament to children's resilience, overshadowing heartbreak with joy. Freed from the sabotage threat, Toby's memory would endure in a swirl of children's laughter, forever beyond Karen's destructive reach. News of the memorial playground spread beyond Elmwood Greens. The local newspaper featured a story titled, "From Lost to Love, Neighborhood's Playground Honors Children's Memories." They interviewed Ms. Gardner, who recounted how a stolen bench ironically led to a bigger tribute. The Reeds shared how Toby's memory now flourished among the laughter of other kids. Photos of the playground's bright structures and the row of memorial benches accompanied the article. Local community groups reached out, praising the initiative. Some parents from neighboring towns visited the playground, drawn by the story of resilience. A small mention even appeared on a local TV station. Donations trickled in for further enhancements, like installing a water fountain or additional shade canopies. Ms. Gardner recognized that, ironically, Karen's sabotage had launched the playground into local recognition. Freed from negativity, the project soared in reputation. Karen, seeing the coverage, grew sour. Her attempts to quell Toby's memory had backfired so spectacularly that the entire region now hailed the playground as a model of neighborly compassion. She found no supporters to commiserate with. Ms. Delgado gently reminded the HOA board that the playground's success validated their decision to override Karen's initial complaints. The park caretaker reported families using the new space daily, from dawn to dusk. Toby's bench, physically absent, found symbolic presence in the benches around the playground. The Reeds quietly confided they still missed Toby's original bench's personal touches, but recognized this grander project was a gift to all children. Freed from petty sabotage, Toby's memory soared beyond a single seat, forging a place for kids to play and families to connect. The unstoppable synergy of empathy overshadowed one meddling neighbor's destructive act, turning sorrow into communal joy. Despite the positivity enveloping Elmwood Greens, Karen's resentment festered. She no longer publicly opposed the playground. Her earlier attempts ended in humiliation. Yet in small, passive-aggressive ways, she tried to undermine it. She posted petty criticisms on the neighborhood forum. Noise from kids at playground is disruptive, or bright colors clash with the standard palette. Each time, the forum moderators or Ms. Delgado swiftly refuted her. The wave of support for the playground overshadowed her complaints. Karen also stealthily refused to attend any events near the new memorial site, skipping out on official gatherings that used to see her presence. Some neighbors felt pity, suspecting her deep regret or bitterness. Others found it a deserved consequence of her sabotage. Freed from her intrusive presence, the entire playground and memorial benches thrived with unity and peace. Ms. Gardner occasionally glimpsed Karen from afar, watching the children's laughter with a stony face, then turning away. Meanwhile, the Play for the Angels committee introduced additional features: a small library box for children's books, a chalkboard wall for kids to draw on. The entire space exuded creativity and acceptance. Parents taught their children the significance of the plaques, explaining that these names represented children who'd passed on, reminding them to cherish each moment. The Reeds recognized that Toby's memory was now entwined with a place of positivity, far beyond the single bench they once cherished. Time marched on. Karen's sabotage attempt receded into local lore as a cautionary example. If you try to stifle heartfelt tributes, you might spur an even greater expression of love and solidarity. Freed from the overshadowing threat of petty vandalism, the playground soared as a permanent anchor of community spirit. By the time a year had passed since Toby's bench was stolen, the memorial playground had fully integrated into Elmwood Green's daily life. Children flocked there after school, on weekends, during summers. The bright slides, well-maintained by volunteer committees, still glistened. The memorial plaques lined the benches, each name a quiet story. Some families who lost children placed small symbolic tokens, a butterfly sculpture here, a cameo photo there, all within respectful guidelines. The Reeds visited often, especially on Toby's birthday. They brought small balloons, tying them near Toby's plaque, letting them gently float until the breeze carried them away. Miss Kay, seeing them from the main walkway, offered supportive nods. She remembered how heartbreak had so often served as a catalyst for deeper communal care in Elmwood Greens. Freed from sabotage, the place felt purified, each day brimming with ephemeral joy. Karen, presumably still residing in the neighborhood, cast no further sabotage attempts. She existed in a self-imposed isolation, having lost her board seat to Ms. Gardner in the last election. Ms. Gardner guided the board's vision, promoting inclusive, family-friendly policies. Freed from old negativity, the board approved further small improvements, like new shading sails and recycled rubber mulch for the playground's base, ensuring a more comfortable environment for children and families. Occasionally, visitors from other neighborhoods arrived, curious about the memorial playground they heard about. Some sought to replicate the idea for their own lost children. Ms. Duval welcomed them warmly, telling the story with minimal mention of sabotage. The emphasis lay on how a single tragedy sparked unstoppable love. Meanwhile, Toby's memory echoed in children's laughter each day. A year on, that laughter overshadowed the malicious removal of the original bench, cementing the new fixture as an enduring part of Elmwood Green's identity. Approaching the second anniversary of Toby's passing, Ms. Gardner and Ms. Delgado planned a small reunion gathering at the playground, inviting all who contributed. They titled it Celebration of Life and Community, combining a remembrance for Toby and other children memorialized on the benches with a broader reflection on how Elmwood Greens overcame negativity. The crafters volunteered to set up a modest buffet. The local musician from prior fiascos came to strum gentle tunes. Families arrived, including those who'd lost children, each visiting the bench with their name plaque, leaving flowers or small tokens. The Reeds stood by Toby's plaque, tears glistening, greeting well-wishers. Ms. Delgado made a brief speech praising the unstoppable spirit that overcame sabotage. She commended the Reeds' grace through adversity, the volunteers' labor, and the donors' generosity. She never named Karen, but the crowd understood who had attempted to quell Toby's memory. Karen did not attend. People noticed her absence. Some assumed she was too ashamed or resentful. The gathering proceeded with a calm sense of unity. Children played happily, while older residents quietly read the plaques, acknowledging that each name told a story of loss turned into hope. Freed from overshadowing bitterness, the air felt light, as though the entire fiasco had resolved into a shining testament to Elmwood Green's moral heart. As dusk settled, the small lanterns placed around the benches glowed. Ms. Gardner led a short candlelight moment for reflection. In the hush, the flicker of flames illuminated tearful smiles. The Reeds, seeing the swirl of comfort and laughter, felt Toby's presence in every child's giggle. Freed from petty sabotage, they realized Karen's destructive act ironically caused them to build something far grander than a single bench. They parted that evening confident Toby's memory was forever etched in the place children now thrived. Weeks after the reunion gathering, rumors circulated that Karen had quietly listed her property for sale. She was rarely seen, not even patrolling for minor violations as she once did. Some neighbors speculated she'd grown bitter over losing multiple battles, from Toby's bench fiasco to the Memorial Playground's triumphant opening to her lost HOA seat. Others suggested she was seeking a fresh start, maybe in a more rigid community that matched her controlling style. The official MLS listing eventually appeared online, confirming the rumor. Reactions were mixed. Some felt relief that she'd no longer overshadow local affairs. Others felt a hint of pity that she left in disgrace. The sabotage fiasco had severed her from the community's goodwill. Freed from her meddling, Elmwood Greens continued blossoming with new projects. Ms. Delgado, upon hearing the listing, expressed no regret. She recognized that Karen's negativity had corroded trust, overshadowed only by the unstoppable wave of empathy that had triumphed. The Reeds found closure in the knowledge that the main source of Toby's bench removal was leaving. They'd never retrieved the original bench. Karen never admitted to storing or discarding it. That bench was lost. But ironically, the entire Memorial Playground soared in its stead. Toby's name adorned the central plaque, each day reminding neighbors that kindness overcame cruelty. If Karen truly moved, the fiasco might become a local legend. How one woman's vile sabotage triggered a permanent community treasure. Years passed. The Play for the Angels Memorial Playground remained a beloved fixture of Elmwood Greens. Children clambered on the swings, slid down bright slides, and gathered near the benches to sip water or munch snacks. Tourists from neighboring towns occasionally visited, drawn by the story of a stolen bench turning into a grand memorial. The row of plaques slowly grew as more families honored children lost to illness or accidents. The entire playground exuded an air of sweet remembrance. Ms. Delgado eventually retired from the HOA board, replaced by Ms. Gardner, who continued championing inclusive community projects. The crafters crocheted new seat cushions each spring. The Reeds found quiet solace, volunteering as playground monitors once a month, ensuring kids played safely. Freed from overshadowing sadness, They recognized Toby's short life had sparked unifying love that far surpassed any petty sabotage. No one quite knew where Karen ended up. Rumors said she relocated to a condo in a stricter development, possibly continuing her brand of petty enforcement. But in Elmwood Greens, her memory lingered only as a cautionary tale. Sabotage can sometimes backfire, unleashing unstoppable positivity. Freed from the overshadowing negativity, the neighborhood grew more cohesive, forging a sense of shared identity shaped by generosity and empathy. On any given afternoon, children's laughter echoed around Toby's plaque. The daisies the Reeds once placed on a single bench now blossomed in a small bed near the playground's entrance. Residents often paused by the dedication sign. In loving memory of all our angels, may their light guide our play. That sign, shimmering under the sun, stood as a testament that not even malicious sabotage could extinguish the bright spirit of a child. Indeed, from the stolen bench to the final robust playground, Toby's memory, and the memory of every lost child, remained unstoppable, etched forever in Elmwood Green's cherished spaces.